All right. My name is Matthew Kemps. I'm with Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty, and
Matt Kirschling with Gold Star Mortgage here in Austin.
this is Two Mats, One Market. All right. Let's kind of start today off with what is going on with home prices currently. Give me what you're seeing on the lending side, and then I'll talk the real estate side.
Home prices in terms of what people are listing at or what they're selling for?
Let's go with what they're selling for and what you're seeing on your side of things, just overall. I know
Yeah.
we've talked about this several times, but kind of just want to get into where we're seeing this week, kind of going on.
I mean, as far as what I think you mean as far as comparable sales are concerned, we're not running into issues where homes are not appraising, which means that property values are debatably, slowly but surely increasing.
Correct. And I can tell you that we are in an appreciating market now. You at the end of 2022, we went through a normalization period. We kind of felt that normalization through this beginning of 2023, and we're actually at a point now where it's starting to go back up and appreciate. We started appreciating basically starting in. We're gonna have a graph on the screen here. It says what we were appreciating in January, February, March. I can tell you the Austin market was not doing that in January, February, March.
Right.
We started feeling it middle of summer where you started seeing prices go up a little bit. It still felt like we are normalizing, but based off of data and what we had coming in as offers, month over month compared from past years, we have been appreciating.
Agreed.
Um, One other thing that we kind of want to go through is what are what are the reasons that home prices are increasing now, even with higher interest rates? What's your thoughts on it?
Well, I mean, the short answer is inventory.
Bingo.
There's just not a lot of properties out there, and so people want to gain home ownership, and I think people are willing to make concessions on, for lack of a better term, what their dream home is, and things are selling even if it's not the perfect house.
And why do we have a lack of inventory?
Main lack of inventory is due to the fact that you had a supply chain issue during COVID, and then even prior to that, you had a situation where you had people were not building as much due to kind of fear, if you will. I mean, I saw it in 2009, 2010 when things kind of stopped and builders, and even financing for new build homes was tough to obtain.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the amount of equity people have plus the current interest rate they have on their properties is holding back on the lack of inventory as well?
Well, sure. Yeah, you've got people with super low interest rates that, they're not super excited to move and, take on an interest rate that could be 2.5 to 3 times what they're currently paying right now. So that's not creating like an overall inventory issue, but it's creating inventory in terms of what's on the market for sale. Sure.
So based off of keeping current matters, average interest rate that a homeowner has right now is 4.3%. Does that kind of match up with what you're seeing based off?
I would say on average, sure.
Okay.
And but that's only because you've
All
had
the
people that
refis?
have bought over the last 18 to 24 months that weren't getting in those 2% ranges. But I mean, I just saw the statistic a couple of months ago. I mean, people with interest rates under a 4% is something ridiculous, like 25 to 30% of people. So it's a large number.
So would you say that there was that majority of people? Okay, so let's go back to this. What of that 25 to 30% bought versus refied?
Oh gosh, I would probably say over half. It's something I was actually thinking about this morning because I was thinking about refinancing in general in my business. And during 2020 and 2021, when interest rates dropped into the like high 2, low 3% range, you had a lot of people that were in my shoes as far as like a branch manager that refinanced a lot of clients. And the majority of the business that I personally did in like the what I would call the purchase part of my career was really between like 2017 and 2020.
Mm-hmm.
And so one of the things that we ran into was we had people with interest rates in like the 4.5% range. And even though that there was a reduction in the interest rate, it was difficult to pitch savings because people had just gotten their loan. So it's like you've made 10 payments on your home, even though we can reduce your interest rate, like we're going to save you $90 a month. And although in the long run that is super beneficial, it's a tough sell to a buyer, or excuse me, a potential refinance client. So yeah, I mean, going back to your point, like for me personally, and I think for a lot of the market, the majority of those 2% range, I would envision or purchase.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have a lot of people that were savvy that took advantage of those as refinances.
Okay. Um, what do you see happening with those people with the current market we're in? So let's go back to 20-30%. What do you see happening with those people in the next 3 to 5 years? Is it do you think we're still going to have a lack of inventory going forward, and we're going to stay in the kind of similar market we're in, or do you expect, based off your experience in past markets, that you see them let go of that rate to upgrade, or back to our previous statement where life happens?
Mm-hmm.
Do you see them figuring things out in life and try to keeping that rate?
I think if we could see interest rates come down a little bit, you will see some people with, lower interest rates come off of the fence or the life happens type of thing. But I don't think it's going to be enough of a flood to kind of create any really big, increase in inventory. No.
So would it be fair to expect that in 2024, 2025, based off what we're seeing now with the lack of inventory, with where rates are at, and we still see people buying, that we're going to be in a scenario where 2024, 2025, I'm not going to go all the way to 26, but 24, 25, we're going to be still in a very competitive market where it's going to be a seller's market, and buyers are going to be in a spot where they're going to have to kind of be like, I'm going to have to kind of give everything I got on this.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I feel that way is, again, I think you might see some things free up if interest rates can get low enough to the point where people feel like, okay, maybe I have a 3%, but now I'll take a 5%, but I've accumulated this equity. And that's the key, right? Like, no one really wants to trade up for a higher interest interest rate unless there is value in it. And the value is going to come from what we're talking about right now. That lack of inventory is going to continue to drive appreciation, which is going to continue to allow for her current homeowners that bought in 2, 3, 5 years ago to have a bigger, chunk of equity.
Mm-hmm.
And so the flip side is like, okay, well now, yeah, maybe we have a higher interest rate, but let's face it, people want what they want. And then in addition to that, they look at it like, well, if I can put down 20%, I won't have PMI. Like, people will be able to justify a lower interest rate, or excuse me, a higher interest rate when they have that additional equity. But is that going to be enough to move the inventory? You have to remember, you have new households being created every single year. And the way that we define new households in my business or in real estate in general is the obvious. You have somebody who's moving out of their parents' house and creating a household. But the one thing that people forget is the other definition of a new household creation is actually with divorce. So when you have, a couple that is getting divorced, and then you're typically creating two households out of that, and we all know the divorce rates and so on and so forth, and those typically tend to increase. And so when we talk about like, oh, maybe we'll free up with low rates, like, yeah, sure, but I think it's going to wash out with the creation of new households. So again, to like count on that and think that there's going to be more inventory, I think is wishful thinking.
Agreed. Fair to say that buyers still have a fear though of what's going on in the market from basically our conversations.
I mean, sure, but to be honest, buyers always have fear.
Yeah.
There's no market that I've ever been in where buyers are not concerned, because it is. I heard this line the other day, and I've heard it before, but it really holds true in a lot of situations, and especially in real estate, is, there's no compromise. There's only trade-offs, right? So as far as trade-offs are concerned in real estate, like, if interest rates get lower, you will see property values increase. If property values continue to increase, it is going to create issues in regards to inventory. If inventory exploded right now, right? Like, what's gonna pull from that?
Nothing great.
Right. But the point I'm trying to make is, like, there's never been a market that I've been in where I've sat across a closing table from a client who has like 100% full confidence that the time that they bought in the market was the best time, because you just don't know.
And then, okay, let's go back to the seller side.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna probably be able to answer this better, but still want to ask you what you've seen. Are you seeing sellers happy with where they're selling at, or are you seeing okay, let's just do those buy-sell scenarios. Okay, let's say that someone has to pull equity out of their property and sell their home first, then they're going to go purchase.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see sellers happy with the amount of equity they're pulling out and happy with the sales price, or is it the other way around?
I think it's very similar to what I just said about the buyers, where it's all in hindsight, right? Like, every time someone sells a home, and I feel as though people look back and they're either happy with it or not. And typically, from my experience, every time someone sells a home, they feel like, they had to make concessions that they probably shouldn't have, whether it's in price or, repairs, and repairs cost money. So I just think it's human nature to always expect more.
Okay.
Um, yeah, but if I look at it from the hindsight standpoint, like, do I see, sellers that sell and look back and go, oh my gosh, like we got so much money for our house and we were so happy we sold when we did? Absolutely. And sometimes it's not even about money, right? Sometimes it's just about the experience. And what I mean by that from the seller side of things is that it's debatable. Hell, it's not even debatable. It's a fact that you probably are getting more for your house right now if you're selling today than you were in 2020.
It's a fact.
Right, it's a fact. But your experience in selling in 2020 is a completely different experience than selling right now. So I think when we look at these situations, and this is something I've been harping on for like the last almost year now, because I think sometimes we really forget the value of the experience in whether you're buying or selling. Like, you know, there's value in it being a seller's market if you're a seller.
Mm-hmm.
It's easier to sell, it's less stress. You don't have to make as many concessions. So yeah, maybe you got less for your home if you sold in 2020 than you did today. But like, what's that look like,
Mm-hmm.
right? Off paper. And I'm here to tell you, I mean, I've talked to some sellers in this market. Like, it's very frustrating for them at times.
Okay. I could tell you on my side of things, I don't know what's going on the last 2 weeks, but I'm seeing less days on market. I'm seeing properties go a little faster. I've been in multiple offers 3 times the last 2 weeks. But then I have the flip side where I have properties that have been way overpriced and they sit, and as a buyer's agent, I take advantage of it. So we're seeing a little bit of both sides where if the listing agent and the seller started way too high, we're taking advantage of it. If they price it right, I have to go to my clients on the buyer side and say, hey, we're priced right correctly here. There's going to be some offers going on this. We're going to have to come on this one competitively. How bad do you like this, or how much do you like this home? Do you want to take advantage? Do you want to take advantage of the opportunity on something else that is overpriced, or do you want to go after this? And then we may spend a little more than you would at a different opportunity, but it depends. Do you want to spend more, or do you want the exact house or do you want to spend less and not get the house you want, or spend more and get the exact house you want?
Yeah, and I mean, to your point, I think what we're experiencing now, and this is something that in this business has always been very interesting to me. I mean, this is like one of the clips that I just want to play on repeat, is we as real estate professionals are always up against the general public in regards to like what they think,
Mm-hmm.
right? We can show charts on a screen. We can show, historical things that have happened in the past. We can even do spreadsheets and show this, that, and the other. If the general public, for whatever reason, deems that what we are doing, not that it's wrong, but that like it isn't
How they feel about what's going on?
right,
Yeah.
it doesn't matter. And so what I'm getting at is that I feel like we are finally in a position to where we've seen interest rates. I've been using this line for quite some time, and of course, every podcast we do, it changes. But I watched interest rates start to tick up in the middle of March in 2021. So, we're approaching almost 20 months now of rising interest rates. And we're approaching almost a year now of interest rates over 6%. And I think the general public is finally with the sentiment that they're like, this is the market we're in. I think everybody who was thinking about waiting has recognized that, like, if you are in that camp, like, waiting means like 3 to 5 years. And I think we've just kind of worn down. I think of the like bull in the matador,
Mm-hmm.
the bull is finally like, okay, he's dropped down, like, and that's the general public. They're like, we get it now.
Market being Matador.
Yeah, right. It's like, okay. And so I think that's why you're seeing, more, because the one thing that is always somewhat frustrating to me, being the numbers guy, it's one thing if you legitimately can't purchase, if we can't make the math work. And I don't mean like to your personal budget. I mean like you cannot afford to buy this home because you make this money. That's one thing compared to somebody who's like, I can afford a $4,000 monthly payment, but I want to keep my payment around $2,000. And I was having way too many of those conversations where it's like, look, I want a lot of things, right? Like, but it's just it's frustrating to know that there are people that were, and I'm seeing less of it, but there were people out there that absolutely could have obtained a home ownership, done it at a lower level than what they could have accomplished today, but they were digging their heels in on some number that, you know, I don't know, I don't know where they came up with it. I think a lot of times we as adults, and I'm seeing it with the boomers. Here's your controversial clip.
Okay.
Is, the boomer generation, in my opinion, is the number one generation that was basically sold a bill of goods that if they worked until they were like 60, 65 years old, that they were going to get Social Security and that they could just retire and like get money and it was going to, all was going to be right in the world. But through inflation and, cost of goods and everything along those lines, you watch how just life economically is constantly moving the goalpost. And so I remember when I first entered the workforce at like, I know we've told stories of me working a part-time job since I was 15, but being 18 years old, like if you could make $100,000 at 18, it was like you were balling out of control.
Mm-hmm.
And so I can remember like starting in the industry thinking like, all right, if I crack $100,000 a year, like it's going to be amazing. I'll have made it. And I remember when I made it and it was like, this is great. But then it wasn't more than like 2 or 3 years where like $100,000 wasn't $100,000. And even now it's debatable. Like I know for a fact you can't buy a home in Austin without at least a household income of $110,000. So, going back to beating up the buyer in terms of the market and them having their ideas and everything, and buyers that were like, I want my payment to be here, but I can afford this, but it's not where I'm at. I encourage everybody to just really listen to what I just said and think about that as life advice. Because I'm watching people like people my parents' age, and, they're living off of Social Security, and they're like, how in the world can anybody live off of what we're getting? And it's trying to stay away from the politics of it. I'm sure people have a lot to say about it, but
Yep.
that's not going to stop. Not only, the political side, but I'm just going to focus it on real estate. That's not going to stop. Like if you're 21 years old right now and you're like, I'm going to try to purchase a home one day when I'm 30, I'm going to start saving for like a $400,000 to $500,000 house. You better juice those numbers, because 4 to 5 years from now, your $500,000 house isn't going to be what it is today.
If I were to guess, just based off what I've seen appreciation of the time I've been in real estate, I would expect a $500,000 house today is going to be low six in 5 to 7 years.
I completely disagree. I think
What
it's
do you
going to be
think?
way higher.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, you typically are seeing a 5% appreciation every single year, which would put you at, 625 on a $500,000 home, which is close to what you said. But all it's going to take is for any sort of, interest rate reduction. We've already talked about the fact that, homes don't build themselves. They don't like appear.
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, 3D printing. But.
Right. Well, even then they take time. And according to, Kirschling and a lot of these other companies that track this stuff, that's literally what they do. We're supposedly supposed to have inventory issues for the next 5 to upwards of 7 years. So as long as that continues, again, this is market specific, but in markets like Austin, where we see the job opportunities, we see the growth, even if things, go lower than what they do, I mean, 5% appreciation, I would say those are some weak numbers. We might see that this year, next year, but there's going to be a time in the next 5 years, in my opinion, where we'll see a good bump, where we're going to experience that 10, 15%. And when you're dealing with 10% appreciation on $500,000, that number moves quick.
Very quick.
So I'm going 700 in the next 5 years. You're looking at a $500,000 home right now as maybe like a 21-year-old kid, and you're like, I'm going to buy when I'm 25. You better budget for $700K if you like that $500,000 home. I think that's what you're going to get into.
And let's talk on the real estate side of what that gets you today.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, $500,000 is going to be a first-time home buyer scenario on the outskirts of Austin, or a very, very old home that needs work inside of Austin.
Mm-hmm.
$700,000 currently today. You're on the outskirts of Austin. You're going to be getting 3,000 plus square feet.
Right.
Newer build, going to be, or you might be on larger land slightly, not quite an acre, but close. Unless you go out to Liberty Hill, then Liberty Hill, Georgetown, even farther, you can get more than an acre for 700. Inside of Austin, you're touching 2,500 to 3,000 square feet resale that you're getting some kind of seller concessions on.
Right. The one thing that I've been talking about for a while that I'm surprised hasn't happened yet was I can remember after 2008, the new thing became, like in 2009 and 2010, the new thing in the purchase market became, it was all about rehabs, right? Which has really gone to the wayside. I mean, this lasted for probably like 3 or 4 years where everybody that was looking to purchase, not everybody, but it was a common theme. It was like, I want to buy a house. I want to find something with like good bones, and I'm going to, do the work. A lot of it I'm going to do myself.
I
And
got a listing of that right now.
I just, well, and I'm waiting for that to become the new thing, because that was the, for lack of a better term, like alternative to what we just talked about. So like, I also want to prep like the younger community that I know isn't a homeowner right now, that is maybe considering buying even in the next few years, or maybe you're looking now. Like, I think that it is not ideal, right? I get it. Like, no one wants to buy a house and know that they have to make a bunch of repairs. And some people are like, I'm not super handy and I don't know what I'm doing. And but I watched a lot of people do that, 15 years ago, and for the most part, it went really well, and it was a way to accumulate more like sweat equity.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's the complaint, is like, well, how am I going to buy a home? And you hear these TikToks like, I'll never buy a home. It's like, maybe you don't get a turnkey home. Like, the old man's coming out in me now. Like, maybe you do what I did. Maybe you buy a house that, like, I mean, when I bought my house, I bought it sight unseen as a bank-owned property. We went in, turned on the water, and like every pipe in the entire house was leaking. You flush the toilet, shit water literally just went right into the basement because of a cracked stack pipe. And that right there, I mean, we did all the work ourselves. I say we, as in me, some friends, Chaz Marginian shot out, had to redo the plumbing not redo, but repair the plumbing in the entire house. It took us like 4 days. And like,
That would take me 4 months.
those stories, like, I don't hear them as much as I used to. And I would love to, we didn't have YouTube back in those days.
Which is the part I can't believe.
Right. Like, no, the reason I mentioned Chaz's name is like, you had to know a guy. And then like that guy became like the head foreman. And then
he's your GC, walk you through the entire process, do your PM work.
Right. He's like, here you go. Like, let me show you how to solder pipe. Like, let me show you how to cut pipe. Like, let me show you like what we're doing here. We're replacing the soil stack, which at that point on this old home was like a, iron soil stack. So we're cutting into iron, running fern coves with like PVC pipe. Like,
so the way you felt when I was talking about golf, is that how I feel about what you're talking
right.
about right now?
Right. Well, I'm here to tell you, I mean, it's not rocket science, and you guys have YouTube. So like, I don't know. That's just like my little old man rant that I want to see that come back, because I truly believe that is a way that people can obtain home ownership on a much more cost-effective level. Because here I'll get a little controversial about Austin versus where I'm from up in Ohio. I'm very surprised, and I don't know if this is like the market today or if it's just like the differences between the geographics, but like I see a ton of people who buy new homes, that are like these new builds in these developments, live in them for like 7 years, don't do anything to the house. I mean, nothing. They don't even paint the fucking thing, right? And then they're like, all right, we're done with this house. Like,
Next one.
let's move.
Yep.
And like, to me, just again, going to being like a crotchety old man, like, that is not home ownership. That's like home rentership. Like, you're buying a home. Like, I get it. You don't need to replace a hot water tank under 10 years. Your furnace is good. Your roof is fine, blah, 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 blah. But like, bouncing from new build to new build because you don't want to make any repairs is just, it's sad. And then I think of like the gentrification side of it, because like, now I'm about to go off, man. I had this rant with Ina in the car. You guys are building all these like shared wall duplexes.
No, that's the east side.
They're popping up all over the
Yeah.
place, and they're these like shared wall. They call them condos, and then one person owns the one side, and then another person owns the other side. If that home is 20 years old, the type of person that is buying that property is completely different than the person who's buying it brand new.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like all it does is it floods these neighborhoods with these individuals that, in my opinion, have zero intention of building up that community. They just want a new place. They're going to live there. They want to own it to achieve wealth through equity, which is fine. And then they end up selling that property to somebody who is not, and then those homes never get fixed, because it's like, well, why am I going to upgrade my house when, you basically like own a home with your neighbor?
So you're almost explaining Old Cedar Park right now.
Okay.
So Old Cedar Park is very much like this. So let's say it's, but there is a little. I'm gonna go back on my statement a little bit. Old Cedar Park, it depends. There's, I'm noticing two different people. So you have the person who bought in early 2000s, late 90s, that bought a new construction, had their builder build it, built out all Cedar Park, and that was the outskirts of Austin. That was what Liberty Hill is now today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna use my wife's family as a perfect example. They're the ones that do the repairs. They're the ones that do everything else. But then I go to these other listing appointments I have in those areas, and there's carpet in the bathroom,
Right.
and there's still laminate countertops. And I'm getting some appointments where they've been sitting in these houses for 15, 20 years, and I walk in, they're like, "All right, we see the house down the street sold for $750,000. We want to sell for the same price." I'm like, "You are effing crazy! Like,
Yeah.
do you understand how much work is needed? We're gonna need to be able to flip this place, and I'm gonna run some ARV numbers, which means after repair value, for an investor in that scenario. I have one right now where I gave him a suggested price. God, if you watch this, he's gonna kill me. I gave him a suggested price, and the day before we're supposed to go live, shoots me a text and says, "Hey, no, it's not what we want to do. We want to go back to what the comped prices were, and we want to listen to the high side." So after this podcast here, I'm head straight to that house. We're having a conversation. I have the comps. I print out all the pictures. We're gonna walk through. Hey, here's what we can do. Okay, I'm gonna walk. This is gonna be a longer segment now. Okay, so there's different programs where you can basically pull the equity, where it's a buy before you sell program.
Yeah.
So they pull the money out. And in this scenario, he's not borrowing money, so it's not like I need to get Matt involved in this scenario. But it's just
Right.
he's pulling equity out using a company by the name of Homelight. They're going to front him X amount of cash. Then they come back to me and they ask me to sell it. And the delta number that from the cash equity they pull out versus what I sell it at, they get paid back with what they basically call a convenience fee of like 1.7, 1.7 to 1.9%.
Expensive way to borrow money, folks.
It's almost like being a VC firm. That's what they're doing.
I have another company. I'll talk to you off of this that
Okay.
offers a similar thing that's a lot less expensive for your clients.
Okay. So, anyways, they're going. I said you can go through that process. You're going to front end some cash. I can then have a general contractor in here. And we can actually do some improvements in here, and we can spend. It's going to be $70,000 to $80,000 to get some new floors, update the paint, update some of your. It's probably gonna be more than $70,000. It's probably $100,000. Update some of the appliances. Turn this place into photography ready,
Mm-hmm.
and MLS ready. We haven't had that conversation yet. That's the conversation this morning. But I'm just getting these scenarios where, like you said, it's people who it's no home ownership. You buy, you're renting, and you don't do anything to the property. Compared to the flip side, there are some people in that area that are. So it's like, okay, what am I going to get? Am I going to get the, oh shit, it's 1998, and I'm walking back in time, it just looks like shit now? Or am I getting, wow, you did something inside, and now it's kind of has like that, has an older Austin feel to it, yet people are going to pay a lot of money for that.
Yeah, I would just love to get back to the era, if you will, and I think that this could help even inventory slightly. Nothing that's going to make a huge difference, but if people were more willing, because you have people that are buying homes and flipping them, right?
A lot less right now.
Right. Well, I'm talking more along the lines of people buying homes with the intention of rehabbing them for themselves and really putting in the sweat equity.
Playing the 2+ year plan.
Yeah.
Avoid cap gain scenario.
And so when I talk about that, let's just envision right now that all of a sudden, what I'm mentioning, for whatever reason, this video goes viral and everyone's like, you know what? Yeah. There's all these homes sitting around that nobody wants to rehab because everybody for some reason forgot how to do anything home improvement wise. I'm going to watch a YouTube video and I'm going to get this done. Even if that happens, my concern is that you're seeing a lot of these, what is the name of them? These condos that have a shared wall.
Are you talking about townhomes?
Is it a townhome?
Yeah. So they don't own the land.
Well,
there's no common interest.
Right, but there's a shared wall between two townhomes.
Yep.
Those things scare the shit out of me because I know what the cities are doing. They're trying to make affordable housing and they're building them brand new. But I feel like these things are long-term nightmares because
it's reverse gentrification.
Well, not only that, but I just think about I'm bringing it back to the improvement thing. If I have to constantly consult my neighbor about home improvements in regards to how do you paint half a house, right? Or if I'm going to redo my fence, contacting my neighbor and saying hey, because if you own a single family residency, and here's a would you rather.
Okay.
If you own a single family residency on your own property and everything, are you more or less inclined to make improvements based on what your neighbor's doing if you have a joined wall?
100%.
You're more inclined to like do stuff
Yeah,
on your
because
own house.
yeah, and
Right.
I have expectation to be kept up.
Well, but that's my point. And so isn't it easy to be like, well, why should we even do things when the neighbor's not doing it?
Yes.
Whereas on a single family home, you don't feel that way because like you have your own property.
But on the flip side, let's say, for example, this guy, not to go against your point, let's say, let's do what A and B, okay?
Hmm.
A's not doing crap, B is. A's going to feel a little pressure.
I think we all feel pressure to keep up with the Joneses if we're those types of people.
Okay. But
Doesn't
then,
matter.
okay, but
But if
if you're
you're
not
if you're
trying to get the
not
Jobson or
right,
Jonesins, you're just like, okay.
right,
Okay.
and you're dragging down, and so those homes don't, in my opinion, tend to get rehabbed as much. They don't tend to get taken care of as much. And then all I see is you build these homes brand new in a neighborhood, kind of like you mentioned, the east side. I'm seeing it a little bit in my neighborhood, like south of 71.
It's happening. It's moving this direction.
Right. And they're building these homes, and you're bringing in, for lack of a better term, well-to-do people that are able to buy like new homes for less than what they would be able to build or buy if it was a full-blown single-family residency. And that type of individual is going to come in, they're going to live there for 5, maybe 10 years, and they're not going to do a goddamn thing on this property. And then they're going to sell it, and then you're just going to get that neighborhood right back to where it was because
And it runs in a cycle almost.
yeah, and it just pisses me off. It's like, why can't we just do the right thing up front that we know is going to be like tried and true for the long game, opposed to just like putting a Band-Aid on something and fixing it for maybe like 5 to 7 years. I mean, I know the answer, but
Yeah.
it's not a good one. Money.
Yeah. Okay. Do you remember those? Okay. They're in South Austin still. They're kind of like the scary looking metal fences that sit outside of. They're not like actual fences outside, but they're metal rods that go up. They have kind of like designs on them. I hate these things.
Okay.
It makes a house kind of look ghetto a little bit. You know what I'm
Right.
talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Why can't people just knock those down?
Right. Yeah. I mean, again, we know the answer. I mean, it's money, and it's like,
Well, that doesn't take that much money.
maybe that's the answer. Is like, why not start going back to giving tax breaks for people who are actually? I think they do this
On home
anyway. But
improvements.
yeah, isn't that a
Let's
thing?
find out. I don't know the answer. to that.
Right? Or is it literally just that our there's a large generation of people that have gotten so soft that they literally don't know how to do anything, and it's just easier to move out and buy a new home.
I'm in the middle.
All right, moving on. Sorry, I kind of like derailed everything on that one because I've been thinking a lot about it.
All right. Real quick. Again, I'm Matthew Kemps with Lone Wolf Realty Group at Spyglass Realty. More because kind of want to do more of an action plan here with everyone else. If you are looking to move to the Austin area, looking to sell your property, looking to invest, especially on the investment side, I'd love to partner up with Matt on some scenarios. Run what your cash down might be, run the taxes, run what the HOA is, run the rental income. Let's go through a spreadsheet I've created, partner up with Matt on the scenario, and let's see if we can make that opportunity work. And if it doesn't work, we keep looking and we don't proceed. But just at least want to give us an opportunity to run those numbers with you and see if that's an opportunity.
Yeah, Matt Kirschling with Gold Star Mortgage. I'm going to change my call to action this week, and I want to talk to people who don't own homes that want to talk a little bit about buying something that they don't love and fixing it up, right?
Love that.
Let's have that conversation. I'll explain to you how you'll get it done,
And I'll get you in touch with the right people for the general contractors
right?
and all that good stuff. Okay, let's finish this up with what are the primary reasons we are seeing people move right now? We know it's the life happens stuff, and we can go over the job relocation, change of relationship status, health concerns. Back to the last episode, Johnny wants to play football in a different school district. Are you seeing anything else besides kind of the stuff that we mentioned?
Divorce.
That's relationship status.
Okay, yeah, that's the big one for me lately.
Okay.
I've been seeing a lot more divorce than normal. I think after COVID and everything, now people are a little more like,
Do you think economy is affecting that?
of course,
Yeah.
always, job loss, stuff like that. Like it's nail in the coffin type stuff. So yeah,
All right. Well, honestly, that's a pretty quick section. We kind of know the answers.
right.
So let's just jump into how we ended every single time with the questions and then would you rather's. I'll let you ask the questions and then throw it back to you.
Yeah, I had a good one. What was it?
If you do the wife one, then.
Oh yeah. Would you rather hear your wife's thoughts or husband? Let's say spouse. Would you rather hear your spouse's thoughts out loud all the time, or have them narrate your life like a sports commentator all the time.
Sports commentator. Could you imagine how great that sounds?
Oh, no,
Oh my
not at
God.
all.
For me, it'd be hilarious.
To constantly have to have a sports commentator that is my wife in the background, like narrating everything I do. Like, here I'm taking a shit, and it's like, all right, and here he goes. Like, no, fuck no.
Oh, looks like we're on the 20. Now we're on the 30. I'm the 40.
Yeah, yeah. Dunk.
Matt is walking to his office now, and
Right.
Now he sits down. Oh, wow. What a great play that was there.
No, thank you. I'm definitely wanting to hear my spouse's thoughts out loud all the time. I know that sounds like a nightmare, but that,
Okay.
as we do the would you rather's, yeah, that's what I'm doing. Let's see. I'll go one more here. I've got 10 of them, but we'll be picky. Would you rather have your partner do all the cooking, but use bizarre and unusual ingredients,
Okay.
or have them never cook again and you're stuck with takeout forever?
Take out forever.
Right?
Easy.
That's a no-brainer.
Okay, another one.
Yeah. Would you rather have to attend all of your in-laws' family gatherings or have your in-laws move in with you permanently?
Oh, fuck.
I'm attending the gatherings for sure.
Gatherings.
I don't know. My wife's in-law, or my girlfriend's in-laws are pretty cool. I could move them in. I think we'd have to get a bigger house though,
We'd have to get a guest house.
and they live in Europe, so like attending all of them in
That'd
that
be a
aspect is a hassle.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, I'm gonna have to go the latter just because of the geographical part of it.
Okay.
They'd have to move in.
Well, again, same thing I kind of said a few minutes ago. If you're looking to buy, sell, invest in Austin, please feel free to reach out. In the description below, you're going to see our Calendly link. And then right here, you're going to have both of our phone numbers. Feel free to call, text, email us anytime you need to. Once you kind of finish it up.
Yeah, I'll say the same thing. I want to talk to people who are disgruntled because they can't seem to find an affordable home. I want to talk to you more about the possibility of you sucking it up and suffering for maybe a year or two and living in a semi-construction zone for a year or two with the intention of rehabbing a home and getting it to where it needs to be so that in that 3 to 5 year plan, not only do you get to live in the house that you've repaired and you'll love it, but you're going to turn around and have a big chunk of change left over.
And for the record, he is not the boogeyman.
I'm not the boogeyman.
Thanks, everyone.
All right, guys.